Welcome to 8-Bit Basic. This is Eggplant, a 1980s shoot 'em up from games for your Commodore 64 Book 2 by Gregg Barnett. And on the surface, yeah, it looks pretty simple. Play your ship at the bottom, a barrier in the middle, something in the top that really wants you dead. But the code that makes this game work, it's got some really clever things going on. There's the single peek command in here, one line, and it handles the entire collision detection job straight to the hardware. The Commodore 64 does the work. Not the basic, it's the chip. And that's not the only trick. The barrier you're shooting through, it's actually two sprites pretending to be one. And the eggplant itself is a single sprite stretched double width. No extra data, just one hardware register. I'm going to break down some of the important code, line by line, and make sure you stick around for my little updated version of the game at the end. I wonder if I can make it any better. A quick thank you to the 8-Bit Pokes and the 8-Bit Peaks on my Patreon. Your support is genuinely appreciated. It really means a lot. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and I always love reading your comments and feedback and suggestions. Let's jump into the code. Here is our eggplant code, and I'm going to warn you in advance, I'm probably going to call it Eggplanet, because to me it kind of looks like a planet and it makes more sense, like it's not really shaped like an eggplant, but anyway, so if I call it Eggplanet, I've been saying it to myself all day. We're going to start by looking at the eggplant because it looks quite wide on the screen. You might think it is two sprites, but it is just one sprite. Now it is sprite 0, and there is a little poke, which is the sprite expansion register, and it's going to be expanded. So let's take a look at that. List 2080. There it is. So we have poke 53277. Let me switch my brain on because I have been using a different 8-bit system recently, so my hands might go all over the place. Apologies for that. Poke 53277. So that's our register for sprite X expansion. We'll turn on the horizontal expansion. 223. So we have 8 sprites, sprite 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and all of them are controlled by this register. So it's just like when we're creating sprites, it all comes down to the bits in the byte. So depending on which sprites have their expansion register turned on, all of them are added up together to make that number. I think I've got a little picture I can pop on the screen that's going to help me explain it. There we go. Now looking across from our left here, we have the eggplant and the fence barrier, which is split into two sprites, which I'm going to show you. Then we have the next sprite is unused, then there's the launcher, the fuel bar, the missile, and the shield. So the majority of our sprites are expanded. So the sprites that are expanded, they have a 1 in their column. So you can see the number at the top, 110, 11111. And when you add up all of those values, so it's 128 plus 64 plus 16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, that's where our 223 comes from. So that's the little register that is controlling all of our expansion. So what I might do is turn off the eggplant X expansion so we can see what it looks like when it's its normal narrow self. So all I will need to do is remove that 1. So if I put that to a 0, all we have to do is just then remove 1 from the total, 222. So if I poke that register, 222, let's see what it looks like. Changing it to 222 if my maths is correct. Here we have a short initializing screen just to get everything ready. It's reading a few data statements in the background. Eggplant, nice and fantastic, spelled with the same Petsky symbol. It is a favorite of mine. Eggplant, press the I key to move the launcher left, press the P to move it right, press space to fire the rocket, any key to start. Here we go, and there is our skinny sprite. It's been on a diet. So it's as simple as that, editing that register. Oh, now you're destroyed. You will notice that the yaw is spelt incorrectly. I did double check the book, and that is how it's spelt in the book. So that's why I kept it there. It should be UR with an apostrophe, but hey. So that is how our sprite expansion works. We've expanded X. You can expand Y as well, which would make it taller. Let's take a look at some of the tricks that the barrier has up its sleeve. So list 11102 1160. All right. No, I don't need to press the W key to go up. Oh, my brain is still in another system. There we go. So we are poking 2041. What this is the sprite pointer for sprite 1. Sprite 0 is the eggplant. Sprite 1 is the left-hand side of the barrier. So 2040, And because we are poking 14, we are telling it that the data or the information for sprite number 1 is going to be in memory location or sprite block 14. So what that means is 14 times by 64. Actually, I want a Commodore that does maths. Oh, print 14 times 64. Look at me go. So that's going to give us 896. So that is the location where we are storing the data for that sprite. The next part of the line is poke t plus 40. Now t is a variable that was set earlier. It's very common to set this variable 53248. If you've done any basic programming before, you're going to know that's the start of our important VIC memory, and everything we poke is relating to that. So plus t is always that memory address of 53248. It's just a bit of a shorthand. So 53248 plus 40 means we're going to be poking 53288 and comma 10. So that's the color area. So when we are doing comma 10, that's going to be the pink light red color. So that's all that does. D equal 195. That's another variable, and that's going to be used as the sprite pattern. Now that one is actually pretty clever. It's going to be used in the next line down here where we are actually forming the sprite. Usually sprites read from data statements, so a table or a list of data lines down the bottom. But this time I'm going to show you the clever trick it does. The way this line builds up the sprite, it's pretty clever for I equals 0 to 62. So each sprite needs 63 bytes. So what it does, poke 896, we already saw that before. That's the memory area where we're going to be putting the data to create our sprite. So 896 plus I, so the first time it is just 0. So 896 is where we're putting in the first number to create our sprite, comma D, 195. So the reason D is 195, if you know your binary, it'll look something like this. 11000011. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. And because it repeats over and over, it ends up building our sprite. Let me show you another picture. Here on the sprite spreadsheet, you can see all of them are 195. And so that creates that same pattern all the way down. So rather than creating a list of data statements that says 195, 195, 195, 195, and reading them over and over, we just go through and just poke that in because it's the same each time. Nice, simple trick. And then the next time the loop goes through, it's going to add 1. So it's going to poke that same piece of information into 897, and it will keep going until all 63 bytes of the sprite are filled. Now the next thing, very easy. It does the exact same thing, but because we are poking 2042, this is the register for the next sprite, and we're telling it is located at 15, which means 960. So we're going to do the same thing again, except we're just poking this same information just into the slot for the next sprite, and so then the sprite next to it is built up the exact same way. So that's a very clever little way that the two sprites are built up next to each other. Now let's see how they're placed on the screen and how they move in relation to each other. These three lines here are the ones that set our two fences or our two sprites on the screen. So 2080, we are poking 53277, comma 223. So we looked at that code before. That's the one that is, that's our X expansion sprite register. So it expands all the sprites that need to be set. These we're setting up some variables. F1, which is going to be the X position of our fence that's moving, and F2 is going to be the Y position. The good thing in this game is it's really only the X position that changes going across. Y position doesn't change because it stays in the same line on the screen. The next line here, poke T, and remember the T variable is just the start of the video chip registers that we're going to be using in the VIC-II chip. So poke T plus 2. So that tells us that this is for the X position of sprite number 1, and we are poking in F1, which is above 130. So we're saying for sprite number 1, set its X position to F1, which is 130. Poke T plus 3, so that's still sprite number 1, F2. So now we're poking the Y position 150. Then the next line, what it does is it pokes the X position for sprite number 2. So as you can see, we've gone up to poke T plus 4. So we're now in sprite number 2, sprite 0, sprite 1, sprite 2. So the third sprite, poking at F1 plus 30. So that means it's going to be 30 pixels across, but when you are expanding a sprite, it becomes 48 pixels wide. So we're actually going to be overlapping the two shapes, but because they have the same outline, you don't actually see the middle overlap, and it just helps them look like one solid moving piece on the screen. Occasionally, if sprites are right up next to each other when you're running sprite movement in BASIC, you can see an occasional jitter or an occasional gap between them. So that's another one of the little tricks that makes stuff look good on the screen. Poke T plus 5, so that's poking the Y value as well. Notice it's F2, it's still 150 because our Y values don't need to change. In one of the main game loops, there will just be something that increments F1 either 1 or 2 pixels each time, so it gradually moves across the screen. And now I'm going to look at a part of the fence movement routine to show you what happens when it gets too high so that it can reset its initial position. Here it is. It's pretty straightforward. So if F1, remember that's our X position going across the screen, if it's greater than 155, then F1 equals 130. So it sets it straight back to 130. So you notice in the gameplay, it doesn't move across that far, and then it resets and starts the movement all over again. So that's a very simple code that it uses just to see how far across it is from the screen. Then once it's there, it's going to set F1 back to 130. So when the game loop is running, it's back to 130 and redraws back at the initial position. And because both of the fence sprites, Sprite 1 and Sprite 2, both reference F1, one is F1 and one is F1 plus 30, it resets them both. Very sweet. Here is our line that deals with the collision. So go sub 3200, that is the subroutine that deals with moving the fence. So the code that we've been talking about, it's the one that moves it across the screen. These variables very important. Q2 equals peak L1. Now L1 is a variable that's set previously, and the variable that it is set is 53278. 53278. And what this is the sprite to sprite collision register. Now line 4058. If Q2. Now remember, Q2, we did a peek into the collision register. So Q2 has become whatever is sitting in the collision register. If it equals 70, that means there's been a collision. Go sub 7000. And what that does is it's going to update the score. And then we have two little pokes here. These pokes are pretty clever. All they are doing is just poking the position of our missile. And all they do is they just set the X position. This is this first one, poke T plus 12. That's the X position of the missile sprite to 0. And then the next one, poke T plus 13 to 0. That just sets the Y position. So you'll notice, and I saw it a bit too when I was playing, occasionally you will see right on the edge of the screen a little bit of the sprite flicker. So it doesn't turn the sprite off. It just does a really, really quick reset of its position to 0, 0, top part of the screen. So essentially we shouldn't be seeing it at all. But anyway, that's the trick. And it's a lot easier than turning it off because then you don't have to reinitialize it. So that's another little time-saving trick. Now let's have a look at why the number 70. It all comes back to our binary again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in our collision register, sprite 0 is the ship at the top, so we're not looking at that. The next one across is the left part of the fence. Then the next part across is the right part of the fence. So sprite 0, sprite 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 are your fence parts. And the next sprite we're doing the test with is sprite 6 because that's our missile. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to turn that bit on as well. So when you do your binary additions, so that's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, you will get 70. So that's the number we're looking for. That means there's been a collision with one of the sides of the barrier and the missile. So that's very clever indeed. That's all it takes for us to check for a collision. And then that can tell the program, hey, there's been a collision. Let's go and do the next thing. If you stuck around for all of that, thank you so much. Potentially, I've made some mistakes. I might have got a few things wrong. There are so many clever people out there. I really do love when you drop into the comments and you make suggestions for improvements. Or yes, please feel free to point out anything I've said that is incorrect because it is important to have the correct information out there. Let's look now at my upgrade. So here's my code. It is a little longer. We're going to have a couple of more data statements. Let's see what I've done. Oh, it's still going. Yes, still going. Yep. There's our datas. Let's go. So we are initializing. Let me get my fingers ready to roll. Oh, we've got our hum in the background, so I sort of added that little resonant just to give sort of a space feel. I've added some tweaks by 8-bit Basic. Let's go. Ah, no, I'm going to miss it. Ah. Ah, no. Oh, I love how my keyboard is responding. Okay, can I get it? Now, my sound routine has slowed down the game a little. So, clever people out there, if you've analysed my code, it will be on the GitHub as well. Please let me know how I can improve. I would like to see if I can actually get the ship without dying. Another thing I've noticed, when the falling bomb routine is running, you can't shoot. So that's another thing that could potentially be upgraded in the future. Oh, come on. Ah, damn it. All right, let's start again. What I have found, it is slightly easier to shoot over at this edge because you can dodge the bullets quite easily. And when the fence resets, it can be easy to shoot through. Except I'm not doing a very good job shooting through it at all. All right, here we go. Let's get the ship and... Oh, no, missed. Come on. Nah, see, I can't shoot while the missile's falling. Let's get it. Oh, yeah, and there's its flash. So that's been my little upgrades. If you watched and made it all the way through, thank you so much. I really enjoy making these videos. Lots and lots and lots of things on the way, trust me. And I'll see you all again soon for some more 8-bit Basic. Bye!